Hey everyone, welcome to Developer Office Hour. All right, I think we're good to go. Quick intro. This is Developer Office Hour for NVIDIA Omniverse. This is where I come on every week and share some questions that have been asked on the forums and on Discord, and go ahead and answer them here live on video. And then I share these back with everyone on this GitHub repo. All the code is available here. We also have the Omniverse FAQ, where all of these timestamped videos are saved, and you can search for previous sessions that we've had before. And then I just do a couple of questions every week, and then it's just open forum. Bring whatever question you want. I'll try to answer it live. If I can't, I'll try to bring it the following week to wrap that up. So welcome. If you're here, let me know. Welcome, Data Juggler. Welcome, Funky Boy. So today we're doing an action graph focus. I got some questions on Discord. It's been a while since I've done action graph. So let's get into it. The first question is, how do I change the label of an action graph UI button? So welcome, Simply Chenable. The idea here was that this user wanted to have a button that would be a toggle button. They wanted it to have like a show state, hide state. When you click on show, it shows whatever it needs to show. When you and then the label changes to hide, you click on the button again, and it goes ahead and hides whatever was shown again. So I think that is, that's something that we do fairly often in UI programming, but it's kind of novel, at least for me, with visual scripting. So let's take a look at how to do that. So I'll create an action graph. I'm curious if any of you guys have hit this. I don't know if this is just me, if I have some extension that's bugging out, but when I first create an action graph, the action graph window gets all wacky and doesn't allow me to create nodes. I don't know if any of you have encountered that, so I just kind of reopen it, and then we're good. Well, the first thing we need to do is, we're doing a UI. You have to set up the viewport mode. Default, there's two modes, default and scripted. Default is the viewport behaves as normal, no interaction from action graph. Scripted is where you change the mode to scripted, and now action graph gets to play with the viewport. It'll set up a frame. What does it say here? They put the container widget and on the viewport, and that's where you can put all your stuff, and it also takes control of navigation and things like that. So we're going to do two of these. And we also, there's like pretty standard boilerplate here. I mean, you could have different functionality, but the way that we do it with the samples is we show the UI when you press play, we take away the UI when you press stop. Hey Nandu, welcome. So when this stage event fires for start play, we'll go ahead and set the viewport mode to scripted. And then otherwise, when we say stop, we will set it back to default. All right. So we've got that. Then we need to start laying out our UI. So we'll do, what do we need? We need a placer. This is gonna let us specify an XYZ position for our UI. We need the stack. May or may not need it, but just because so we with the frame that we have, we can only put one widget in. So you generally want to put in a stack so that you can add more widgets. Hey, Marlon. And then a button. And then when we are in scripted mode, we will create. So it's all just, yes, execute all of these steps here. And then the widget path, every one of these wants a parent widget that it's associated with. So the widget path for the viewport is the first parent. Then we plug that into the stack, and the button is a child of the stack. We can also go ahead and, well, we can press play at this point, I believe. One thing we should do is maybe set the text on this. Hello. And there's our hello. Then I can come over here and tweak the placement of this to maybe 200. And that'll drop that down 200. Right, so this is positive, Y is down, positive X is to the right. So far so good. Now the bit that we actually wanted to explore here is how do we change the label. So there is a set widget property. And we want this to happen when a widget is clicked, right? Which widget? The button itself, the one that we created. What did I mess up here? Widget identifier, sorry. So yeah, that should have worked, I thought. Because when I press play, all of these, well, okay, so I think I need to specify manually my button. Hold up. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, so I don't connect the widget identifier. I just type it in. Like it was confusing the widget path. I wonder why I can't use, I guess because the widget path is dynamic. What did it say when I tried to connect it? Okay. So it's literal only. So you cannot, I'm not sure why we have a connection here. I guess maybe I can do a constant token. But even then, I doubt this is going to work. I don't know why we have a pin there. But that's okay. So we just need to have the same widget identifier, right? My button. We can go ahead and do also a print text just to evaluate that this is indeed working. And we'll do it to the viewport. There it goes. Sweet, right? But we want to change, sorry. We want to change the label. So here it looks like it'll accept the widget path. And I'm guessing, yeah, so it's used instead of widget identifier. I like this better than hard coding the values here. So we'll use widget path there. Property name is text. We can verify that by coming over here. And it's called input text. We'll try text first, and if that doesn't work, we'll change it. And then here, this was a string, right? So we should do a constant string. And we're going to change it to world. Hello, Antoine. Okay, so we stop, play, and it worked. Look at that. It's like I know what I'm doing. I don't. Cool. So we got that switching. This is part of what the user wanted to do, right? They wanted to. This is probably the part that they were struggling with, but changing the label. It looks like a different button, and I think that's what they were going for. They wanted to. You could also have two buttons, toggle the visibility on each, but I thought this was probably a better approach for the way that they described it. So we changed that. We should change it back. I think that would make this a complete solution here. The other thing that I wanted to show, let's go ahead and change it back. So we have these control nodes here, the flow control. And I just want to flip-flop, I think. So I'm the worst at nodes. It just looks like a hot mess every time I lay out nodes. All right, and then we can disconnect this. Yeah, I'll show that in a moment. There's obviously this quick documentation here with the tooltips. I find that sufficient. You saw me. I'm not totally familiar with these nodes, but hovering over the node itself and also each of the properties identified, figure out exactly what I need to know. So then we can switch that back to hello. And I think that should work. Right? Look at that. Okay, so then you have two execution chains here. This one can go ahead and show. Let's do show and hide. Show. Default is show. And I could reconnect this one over to here so that I get the same text here. So show, hide, and now I have these two execution branches where I could do whatever work I need to do to show some prims, hide some prims. I won't get into that for this. We can come back to it if y'all want afterwards. But I did want to get to the next question. but simply did have a good question about documentation for nodes. Let me pull that up. I don't know if we have there's this question mark here. Yeah, it opened up in the wrong spot for me, which is a little bit of a bummer here. So I'm gonna search for it. It opened up in the wrong Chrome window, so I can't quite bring that over. So that question mark will get you to where you need to go, but also in here, it brought me to here, OmniGraph. Where was it? And then if I look at here, library of OmniGraph node descriptions, here's all the nodes. So cool. Great work by our OmniGraph team and also the Omniverse documentation team to get this going. So I guess not all of them are quite here, but this is pretty sweet as far as per node documentation. If there isn't one that if you find that there isn't one here, you can always report it here. Documentation fix request. I think that'll help the team prioritize the ones that folks are looking for. So I'll put this in the chat here. Yes, great question. I will answer that, Song. Let me move on to the next question, and then we'll take those open forum questions. Cool. Next question. How do I style an action graph UI widget? All right. So I've been seeing some great work with action graph UI, but it's kind of a leap to then be able to style it, right? At least if you're just starting with action graph. If you're coming from the extension development, then you're like, oh yeah, I get this. But if we go to the developer guide, I believe we have style documentation. Yes. So I came to the Omniverse developer guide, API search style. This is also in code. I'll show that as well. But this is a complete breakdown of how styling works for Omni UI, which is the UI framework that we use for all of Kit, and also is being used by Action Graph to build these UIs. I won't be covering Isaac's Sim questions. I mean, I could try. You could throw it at me. I will try. But honestly, the Tuesday live streams are going to be much more fruitful for you. We've got the Isaac Sim developers, so you get it straight from them, and it's going to be way better than getting it from me. So it explains all about how Omni UI style sheet rules are almost identical to HTML, CSS, if you're familiar with that. In the UI, we define the styles as Python dictionaries. And so here we say, for all buttons, use this background color. And so it covers all of it. I won't go through all of it here, but it's worth a read. And this is really going to inform how to do it in Action Graph as well. We have this also over here. If I search for style, you're going to get, enable it, possibly download it in the future. You're going to get this UI window here, And I believe, for example, if I look at styles for a button, it even has like examples. I don't know what that's supposed to show, but yeah, examples of so that you can see interactively what all these properties and things are doing. So highly recommend checking that out. It is Kit documentation UI style. So let's do some styling. So I have this button here. It's kind of cool. It has a style field. And so this is where we put that dictionary that I was talking about. And so we can look at the documentation for what I can do to a button, right? And I can change the border color, border radius, border width. So let's give it a border radius and width and a color. So we do key is border width and colon value. And then we can do border radius. It's going to be 5 maybe. And then border color. Now, this is where I'm not sure, and I need to get back to you on, but the color in Omni UI, we have a class that we can use to specify colors, and you can specify it in like integer or float values like this, or you can even use HTML colors and just do cl.yellow and it'll give you the HTML specification for yellow. I don't know. I couldn't find a way to do that with action graph. So instead, I could try. I'll try this hex format, and otherwise I'll show you the way that definitely works. So red would be FF0, right? And then we finish off our dictionary here. When I press play, it didn't do anything, which is, well, it didn't do anything with the color. It looks like the radius might have changed. So the way that does work is this reverse hex. You do 0x 00 00 FF. So it'd be green, no, sorry, blue, green, and then red. So now, no, I don't know what I'm talking about. Hold on, sorry. I messed something up here. I did color earlier and this worked. Confused about those properties. I did something. Oh, I see. It's I forgot the alpha. Okay, it's alpha, blue, green, red. And there it goes. So if we come back over here, add in the alpha. There we go. So that's how you do that. It doesn't look like it's, I couldn't find a way to have it accept any of the easier ways to color. Yeah. So you just have to kind of remember that for now. I'll find out if there's another way, and I can bring it here if that's the case. All right, so lots to play around with there. Any questions about style? I'm sorry I didn't leave some room for questions about changing widget properties. So I'll take any questions about that if you want right now. I'll check to see if there's any other interesting properties here. Also technically, oh, I should also show that you can change this on the fly, right? Just like we had the right widget property, there's a right widget style. Same deal. You give it a widget identifier or path, and then you can give it a new style. So when I click the button, I could have it change colors, for example. What I wanted to do is come over here. Another thing that I could do, essentially, is I could say button, and all buttons would get this styling because I'm setting it on the parent. So this is a cascading style sheet. Yep. So now if I were to create another button, so you don't need to go styling every button if you have some that are similar. And this is technically over here because these would be siblings. Okay. And they both get the same styling. I put the style on the parent stack, and I said that all buttons that are children of this stack should get this styling. All right. I will stop here. Oh, well, I'll do one more. We're going to change. We'll do this button when it's clicked. Look at that. Look at all those noodles. When it's clicked, color. And then green and blue. So we're talking about hello, no, show. Cool, right? It starts out, the styling, I didn't specify any color at the beginning, so it starts out with the default. But then afterwards, every time I click, it'll switch back and forth. I don't think visual scripting is messy. I think I'm messy. I've seen folks at NVIDIA that, the OmniGraph folks, they show me their graphs and they're impeccable. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this stage so that I can share this later. See extension projects, Omni Dev Office Hours. We'll put it under script. This is Action graph UI. Right. Okay, let's get into the other questions. Yes, Songfei was asking about creating a UI callbacks with extra parameters. There's a couple ways that you could do this. That I like to do it is with partial. So from func tools import partial, import omni UI as UI, window is equal to UI.window, window with 300 height, 300 width, window.frame, UI dot h and width UI dot. I'll just put the button in here. That's fine. UI dot button me clicked function is equal to do something. This is what Song has right now. Right? I think this should work. And it printed hello, right? But now they want to be able to pass values into this callback function. So one way to do that would be partial. And then and you can do as many as you want after that. And then these will be parameter 1, parameter 2. And then I can do hello. Q1, Q2. And I think that's it. I should rerun this. So we come back over here, console, and there it is. Hello, A and B. So I think this will work for you. Just keep in mind that if you're doing literals like this, the values are going to be whatever. The value won't change. If you do a more complex object, then you would be holding, you would pass the reference. Believe, yeah. So it would update. If you update the original object, the reference you'll get a good reference here that with the updated data. What else? The other option is that another easy option would be that this would be in some sort of class, and so you'd potentially do self.do something, and you don't need to pass in any values. You'd have member variables that maybe you can use. So so two different options. The third would be lambda, which I don't like to do. Or I mean, I've been using it more often lately, but I just can't remember the syntax. Any questions about that? I'm gonna change this back so I don't have broken code. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. This was hard to click. And this works too. Some callback, what is it? I guess some callback functions will be called with parameters for some cases. And so in that case, you would get like the event from an event subscription, and then you can also still add more parameters with partial if you wanted to do that. All right, there was another question here. Okay, I think we can do, Marlon is asking, is it possible to create a UI to use in VR when a 3D button is pressed on a device? That information will be displayed on the device's screen. Yeah, I think I don't think that there's a limitation there. So in the near future, we're going to be able to have Omni Scene UI. Basically the like the manipulator stuff that we have, this kind of stuff you'll be able to do, and it'll show up in VR, in XR, maybe more appropriately. But for what you want to do, I don't think that matters. I don't think that you even need to wait for that. So I'm gonna do, I'm not sure what you mean by 3D button, but when you said 3D button, what came to mind to me was like a physical button. There's a name for this in UI design. So you do this, and if you had a TV screen and you wanted to show, turn on that screen and maybe even show a live feed of some video, you could do that. I show this like every week because I think it's, I haven't really done anything yet. What am I looking for? OpenCV? No. Kit. I'm going to pull this off for a moment. Yeah, so on this one, well, not quite this one, probably. This one, I'm thinking, this is a texture on a 3D mesh. So you could potentially map that onto your display, 3D display, and have like an old CRT TV that you click the button and it turns on, or you turn the dial, whatever people did back then. Yeah, I think maybe like, let me know if I'm misunderstanding. I just might just always be pushing the same technology that I think is really cool and not actually what people are trying to do. And then, yeah, Marlon, let me know if you have anything else to add there. How can I lock selected on a prim from code? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by lock selected. So this camera is locked. That's one type of lock. What is lock, like this lock selected this? What does that do? Does that prevent you from editing that prim? So let's see here. Right now, I can move this prim. If I lock selected, yeah, it locked the properties, right? So I can still drag it, but it locked it. So let's see what commands that fired when I did the lock and unlock. Unlock selected and lock selected. And we can see here there's also a lock selected hierarchy, so we might want to look at that. But we do have a very simple command here. So I will copy that selected command. I'm going to unlock it again. So it is movable. And if we come over to the script editor, I did a cut over here, which killed my, there we go. So you SDF path, you put whatever prim you want to lock. And we run it. Oh, SDF is not imported. We need to fix that. From Pixar import SDF. This is what it copied. I think it'll even accept us the plain old string for the path. So now I should be able to verify that it is locked. I'm going to unlock it one more time, and I'm just going to show that it should work with just a string. And yeah, locked it again. All right. Any more questions on that? I need to report that. Good question. I learned something new today. Anybody else? Otherwise, Funky Boy asked me to check out his extension, which is like pretty cool. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, maybe not that long, but just a couple minutes while I download that asset that Funky Boy used to demo his extension, so that I have something nice to look at too. $53 megabytes. How to load MDL material into a stage. Another great question. All right, that one's an easy one. Let me save this really quick before I forget. New file. What do we call this thing? Lock. Cool. And save that. Yeah, so let's create a material. So any material that you create here, which one do I like? I like the Omni surface. It created it here. Again, command window, super useful. You can just copy the selected one. I did it for Omni surface, but any of them will work. You just give it a path to an MDL file. We have some that are, we already have direct paths to them. So all we have to do is specify the MDL name, give it a material name. It will parent to selected prim, but you could also just totally leave that empty or don't even put that. If you could give this a variable here, and it'll it'll fill that variable with materials that were created in case you want to manipulate the material afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, rerun it, and I get another material. So, and if I want to, I can, let's do one more. PBR, right, is another material. It's in that dropdown as well. Omni PBR, I can verify. Shader is using Omni PBR. Another really cool thing is that we have all of these materials in here. Almost, what is that? Is that almost? No, it's definitely more than 1,800 materials. And these are really fancy materials. And same thing. If I drag this in here and add it, I can check the command, and it used the same command. So copy that over here to the script editor, and I can see what it did. Oh, look, this one's actually coming from an S3 bucket. It's downloading it if it doesn't have it, and yeah. So any of these, if you wanted to programmatically create it and use it, I think you should, because they're so cool. All right. Any questions about materials? I know Funky Boy's like, come on, man, just show my extension. Layout animation, my extension goes away. I'm guessing this is in create. That's probably expected. That's probably by design. These are strict layouts of what windows should be shown and where they should be shown. But I would need to confirm. Line 209. Eric, what are you talking about? Line 209 starts the creation. Did you link something that I didn't see? And Eric might have been getting at this, but yes, you can use commands, and I wholly recommend that you start with commands for these kinds of things. But then yeah, you can use the OmniUSD API or the Pixar API directly to do these same things. I'm guessing that might be what Eric was pointing at. Okay, I need to save this before I forget. MDL, MTL. Cool. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Eric has a great extension that for working with materials. Definitely check it out. Is that published here, Eric? Yeah, backplate, and I'm guessing this is the one that you were talking about. Delete unused. Yeah, check that out. All right, I need to unzip the asset. It's downloaded. You know, Funky Boy, if you had just given us a USDZ, could have just plopped it right in there. Okay. Yeah, lots of great stuff shared by our community members that you can learn from as well. We got that one. Let's do Funky Boy. I already installed it. fairly quick. Seems like he doesn't have much dependencies in this, so, or any at all. So it's quick download, quick install. Here's the extension. My first recommendation, Funky Boy, is let's not pop this up immediately on startup. We're trying to push everybody to put their windows in the window menu. You could maybe justify your own menu if you wanted to, but you could have a submenu here for Funky Boy, and then all of your tools can all add themselves in there. What does anamorphic mean? I think we talked about this on Discord before, and I don't have a good way to explain it. So let's look it up. Blah 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 blah. So I believe the Funky Boy can correct me if I'm wrong, but the lens or the film back is so there's a spherical lens plus an anamorphic attachment, but basically the view is stretched in one way or another, and width or height. So that's what's happening with the lights and the lens flares. Instead of having spherical flares, they're stretched. So that's what Funky Boy is working on. Funky Boy, what I'm not sure about your extension that I was curious about, is this a feature that we physically, it's physically accurate and supported in Omniverse, and you're just making it easier to work with, or is this something that you cooked up to simulate it? What is this thing called? Collected. Yeah, this one. Okay, so it's a post-processing effect that we provide. Don't save. Yeah, so Simply's doing a pretty good job explaining this. Yeah, docking is cool too for the window. You could when it does open, you can specify an exact place where you want it to dock by default. It's not going to work 100% of the time, right? Because some apps may have different windows open by default. So I'm not too picky about that, because that could change in the future. Okay, so here we are. I like the styling on the buttons. Even just changing, this button color to green is nice. We've got these drop downs for hiding information for when you need it. Cool, and it seems like I can just start messing with this. So that's affecting the bokeh. Lens flare, am I going to have lens flare? Yeah. So all of these are post-processing effects. None of it is in render. Yeah, these, like, bloom is obviously looks cool. I like it. And this will reset. Very cool. Is this, how did you do these back buttons or the revert buttons? Is it an image, and then you can specify the color on that image? Yeah. So I think one day we may have the anamorphic lens as an option for the camera. But this is pretty cool. So Funky Boy just asked me to kind of QA this, get my opinion. This is a little concerning. I'm not sure. You must have specified a width on the scroll frame. So if you removed the width, I think that would probably fix that. Yeah, I noticed the style. Yeah, it looks good. It's the Julia Quaternion modeler. It's one of the samples that we provided. And then you're using the. It's interesting that when you click on it, is that a feature or a bug? The rounding on the left. I do like they're using the partial corner rounding. But yeah, everything looks great. There's a little artifact here. You might just want to make this drop down button a little bit smaller so that doesn't hang off there. Yeah, there must be a styling for on clicked or on when the field is pressed. So you might just have to add one more styling for that selector, right? Styling. There's like the state selector hovered. There must be one for pressed or something like that. That is currently being set to is setting the rounding on the left. No, this is great, Funky Boy. This is better than anything I've made. Cool. Any questions for Funky Boy? I can take a look at the code a little bit, see if my suspicions are correct. Got like 2 minutes. Cool. So here's what I was talking about, the color. This is a color object, I believe, color class. And here Funky Boy's defining a bunch of colors as variables and as float values. And he's using that in different places. Eric's calling out the lining up of the menu items. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I do think, yeah, maybe these could, oh, I see. Yeah, these fields aren't completely lined up. So it's just a matter of, it's odd that the shorter label has taken up more space, kind of. But yeah, if these were all lined up, that would definitely be an improvement. Cool. I'm glad to. I'm always happy to do things like this. It's always more fun to do these things together and be able to share what we're working on and get some feedback. So, what was I looking for? And here's your river arrow icon. So it's an SVG, and then you can set a color on it, I'm guessing. Yeah, you can specify a color for the image, and it'll paint the image that color. Very cool. Title bars also don't line up. I'm not sure which one's the title bars. What? I guess that's expected. It's changing the. Is this changing the camera properties? I was thrown off by that zoom right there. But I'm guessing that maybe the focal length or something is changing when you change the. Oh no, you're changing the aspect ratio of the render potentially. You got. There's a little bit of a math error there, right? With the 177, that should be a 720. That one's right. And that one should be 640. And then, not to plug my own thing, but this would also go really well with the camera reticle. Maybe not. I don't know. Very cool. All right, we're out of time. Funky Boy, if you have any questions or need any help afterwards, let me know. Thanks for sharing it. Let us and letting us we'll go through this together. All right. Next week we've got stuff going on. We've got a SimReady live stream on Wednesday. Check that out. We actually had Bo on for a little bit for one of her live streams, and there are a lot of questions about SimReady still to be answered. So we got Bo lined up for another session. So bring lots of SimReady questions, bring examples and all that, and we'll jam on that for a bit. Thanks, Nandu. Thanks, Funky Boy. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Song, and everybody that had really great questions today. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. See ya.